Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel. I'm ForClassic and welcome to BenchART. So for today what I do have in it is FIFA 21, a game developed by EA Vancouver and EA Romania, and it is using as usual Frostbite 3, which is the most used engine on EA, created by DICE, the developers of Battlefield. And it have been the engine behind FIFA for a quite long time. So without losing any time, let's take a look on the requirements for this game. So this game asks as a minimum for an AMD Phenom X4 or an i3 from the 6000 generation, 8 gigs of RAM and a GTX 660 or an AMD Radeon AG 7850. So what I have in here, it is an Nvidia MX130 with 2GB GDDR5. So if you have the DDR3 version, your performance will be considerably slower, but still, let's display the results that I gathered at 720p. So if you want to enjoy a perfect frame rate, my recommendation it is to go with 720p median settings. The replays on FIFA are capped to 30 frames per second, but gameplay can go whatever you want. So gameplay wise, the frame rate that I did add, it was between 90 to 110 frames per second. But although if you still care about 60 frames per second on gameplay, but you don't care about the performance on the replays, you can go with high using 2x multi-sampling anti-aliasing if you want. And if you want to go with maximum settings, you can expect frame rate on gameplay to drop below 60 frames per second, as well as a replay to drop from 30 frames per second, like it was already happening with the high settings. So moving on to 900p, at median settings, you can expect a gameplay above 60 frames per second, but again, the replays just drop below 30 frames per second. If you don't care again about the replays, you can go with 900p median if you want. Or alternatively, you can go with high 2x multi-sampling, which the frame rates goes between 60 to 70, but replays are even more affected by this, having moments where the replays can drop down to 15 frames per second. Alright, so and if you go with maximum settings, you can expect a frame rate between 35 to 55 frames per second on gameplay, and the replays are astonishingly bad with 15 to 30, just like it happens with the high settings. So, but what about 1080p? So 1080p median settings, we start to see some drops below 60 frames per second, and replays have drops. Obviously, the high settings at 1080p with 2x multi-sampling and anti-aliasing, it is the same thing, it does drop below 60 frames per second and the replays are bad. And maximum settings, the replays are simply awful and the gameplay barely sustains above 30 frames per second. So wrapping all these things together, the perfect frame rate for this game, it is to play at 720p median settings. All of the above, alright, there is some options in here. You can go with 720p high settings or 900p median or 1080p median. If you care about playing above 60 frames per second but you don't care about the replay's performance, all the rest, the only thing that you care it is to have a performance above 30 frames per second on FIFA, then you can play with maximum settings if you want. Just don't complain about the cutscenes performance. So the settings that you are currently seeing on this video, it is 720p median, because again it is what delivers for me the perfect performance for the game, and this is the settings that I do recommend. I also do recommend to not play these with uncapped frame rates. I do recommend you to go with a lock at 60 frames per second. It offers more smoother pan over the cameras. Alright, and not only that, it locks to 60, which will prevent your GPU to overheat that much, so it only needs to work to reach 60 frames per second, and it is brutally stable. So 720p median settings, it is the settings that I do recommend. But if you don't care about those perfect 60 frames per second or above and you want to go a little bit higher, you add the results back in there and you can select whatever you want or whatever that you can actually enjoy. Alright, so guys, that's all that I want to talk about the performance. But I mean, what about FIFA 21? Did anything change comparing to last year? I mean, because performance wise it is the same, alright, it is running the same as last year. The requirements are pretty much the same, except for the minimum. It seems to be asking more CPU, but it is the same. The requirements are pretty much the same, especially on the recommended. So Did the game change? Not really an expert on this question, on this stuff about FIFA, since I'm not really a football player or a EA Sports or Pro Evolution Soccer player. So I honestly don't really know, but for what I have seen, I don't notice too much of a difference. For me, it looks pretty much the same. And the performance, it is exactly pretty much the same as last year. That's why the requirements, the recommended requirements are the same, because it performs the same. And the game seems more or less the same. I'm not really sure if the new generation of consoles, the PS5 or the Xbox Series X and Series S, will have a special version of FIFA 21, because every time a new generation of consoles gets released, the PC, it is kind of abandoned and stays with the older version for 1 or 2 years. Only after 2 years or something, it is when the PC catch up with the regular version of the consoles, of the new consoles. I'm not really sure if EA is going to do this again. I have read somewhere that it is exactly what is going to happen. So FIFA, if that is true, FIFA 21, it is a port of PS4 or the Xbox One X, alright? It is not a port from PS5 version or Xbox One Series X, and Series S, which means that probably those consoles will have a better version than FIFA 21 than what the PC have, but so far, this version runs at 4K, 60 frames per second. You have new menus, you have the teams updated decently, so you have all these new visual and soundtrack, but essentially what I do feel is that the game, it is more and less the same. But I will leave that for the experts to say, because again, I'm not really a big player of that. It's just I fail to notice any considerable difference between all these games. So as you can see, I'm not actually playing. I put the two CPUs facing each other, so Barcelona are against Real Madrid. So I decided to do this because I'm a noob, and I just decided to put the two bots or the two teams fighting each other using the CPU. So I think it's more interesting, since at least at the legendary difficulty, it seems like they know what they are doing. So guys, I think that's all that I want to talk about this video. Thank you a lot for watching. Hope you keep enjoying the rest of the game, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
Really tense battle so far, and now the second half is underway. Benzema. Now Casemiro. Toni Kroos. Casemiro. Well, it's often a case of five-star performances where Lionel Messi is concerned, but not necessarily in this case, Lee.
Well, it's not been a great first half of football as far as he's concerned. He seemed a little bit sluggish to me, Derek. Easy for the back line to pick him up. Needs more movement.
It's an excellent-looking attack, courtesy of Griezmann here. Karim Benzema. And the counter looks on here. Options available. All in all, a broken counter-attack. Vidal. Piqué. On to Messi. De Jong. Arturo Vidal. And tremendous defensive intuition from Sergio Ramos. They're making high pressing work for them here. Casemiro. Toni Kroos. Getting in there to take it away. Suarez. Well read to ease the pressure. Toni Kroos. This is Kroos. On to Benzema. Modric. Well, he likes to run at them. Isco. At times they make passing look easy.
Aviso importante para el propietario de
Poor pass under no real pressure. And he's made headway.
Acérquese a la cabina de la entrada del parking, por favor.
Is it going to be? Griezmann. Griezmann. Sergio Busquets. Useful looking ball. And now can he keep calm? Oh, magnificent reaction. And that is a defender doing his job, clearing it off the line. Barcelona on the attack in the closing moments. Still level here. Takes aim. This is why we adore this game. Late drama, and now they're in front.
Well, it looks like the game is over, but no, there's another chance. And there it is, back of the net. It looks like the winner. Well, here's the replay. It's a really good passing move in the build-up, and he had choices of what type of finish to apply. And bang, he goes for the smash. Lovely goal. Well, it can be difficult being a manager at times, none more so than now.
And they will make the change now. Well, a dramatic moment near the end, and that might well be the decider. Toni Kroos. With their noses in front in the second half. What will be the thinking in the camp, Lee Dixon?
With a narrow lead and the clock ticking, it's so easy for the Barcelona players to lose concentration. Asking the referee how long to go, looking over at the bench for signals. Staying focused is a skill.
They are making headway, but really they need a goal with time not on their side. Benzema seducing with his passing. That's all they can conjure for now. Not a huge chunk of added time, 1 minute. And the final whistle has sounded. The end of the game here, a win for Barcelona. And Lee, their fans are going to be happy about that.
Wow, what a finish. The emotions will be running high right now on both sides. Euphoria on one and total dejection on the other. Scintillating stuff, Derek.
Well, it was certainly an eye-catching performance from Frenkie de Jong. Lee, interested to know how you would sum up his contribution.
Well, he's always a danger, isn't he? No more so when he grabbed that goal. He never disappoints me when I watch him. He's just too good, simple.
Takes aim. This is why we adore this game. Late drama, and now they're in front.
Well, it looks like the...